Thank you everyone for being here today. My name is Brandon Grant. I'm the marketing director here at QuoteWerks, and today we're going to be demonstrating QuoteWerks Web with the Autotask integration. So you can see exactly how you can create a document in QuoteWerks Web and feed all the information into Autotask, just like if you were using QuoteWerks Desktop. Today, just to give you a quick outline about what we're going to be doing, we're going to have just a very short PowerPoint presentation, just a couple of slides with some important information in there that we wanted to share. We'll do a live demonstration of the features for QuoteWerks Web, and then we'll take some questions and answers after the webinar. We are recording this session today, so if you do need to leave early or you have someone from your team coming in late, don't worry about it. We'll be posting this on the website probably later next week, would be my guess, so you can review it then at your own convenience. Some quick housekeeping before we move forward. There is a questions box in the kind of like go-to meeting window. So if you do have a question, go ahead and post your question in there, and then I will respond as quickly as I can. If it's something relevant to what I'm talking about, a lot of times I will try to answer those questions. If I don't answer your question directly when you post it, don't worry. At the end of this meeting, I will I'll switch gears and come back to those questions and go through those and make sure we get everybody's questions answered. If for some reason I don't answer your question fully or you have more questions, definitely feel free to contact us at either sales@quoteworks.com, or if it's support related, support@quoteworks.com, or just give us a call. We'd be happy to answer any questions. Okay, so just kind of a general overview for QuoteWerks Web. QuoteWerks Web is an add-on to QuoteWerks Desktop. What this means is that you still need to purchase your QuoteWerks licensing, so you still have to have the corporate edition and valid maintenance. You're just going to add on the ability to access QuoteWerks via web interface. The really nice thing about this, especially for the existing users here, is that you don't need to repurchase a whole new system to utilize this. You're just simply going to add on QuoteWerks Web to your existing installation. It's going to use your existing licensing features. So if you have a Quote Valet subscription, QuoteWerks Web supports Quote Valet. So you'll be able to use your licensing for that. If you have real-time utilize, you'll be able to use that functionality. And then obviously the Autotask integration as well. The price for QuoteWerks Web is $10 per user per month. Or if you buy the annual subscription, it's $100 per year per user. So it's very affordable add-on, and you only need to purchase it for the users that need access to QuoteWerks via web interface. If you have 5 users in the office and only 2 of them need access to QuoteWerks via QuoteWerks Web, then you only need 2 licenses. The licensing is concurrent as well, so it only uses the QuoteWerks Web license when someone actually logs into QuoteWerks Web to utilize that functionality. So really affordable, really easy to use. For database hosting, you basically have 3 options. We can host a database for you if you'd like. For us to host the databases for you, it's $40 per month, and that's for the entire company. If you want to host it yourself, you can absolutely do that. If you have your own SQL server in the office, just need to whitelist the QuoteWerks Web IP address. We have instructions for that in the help file on how to do that. Or if you wanted to sign up with like a third party like Amazon or Azure or something like that and have them host it for you, you can absolutely do that as well. So you have quite a few options for hosting. We're not going to try to make you pick which one. It's just we offer it as more of a convenience than anything. So that would be part of the setup. As far as the features of QuoteWerks Web, it does include the full Autotask integration. So you'll have access to be able to search contacts, create and update opportunities, create the Autotask quote, create account notes, those types of things. In QuoteWerks Web itself, you'll be able to create, edit, and deliver your documents. Not all of the functionality in QuoteWerks Desktop is in QuoteWerks Web, just the major features. So being able to create and edit these documents, line attribute support, things like that. It does use your existing licensing features such as Utilize, Quote Valet, and anything else that you might have added. So you will be able to take advantage of any add-ons that you've already included in your QuoteWerks installation. We will also use your existing product, services, and labor databases. So if you've set up your own databases in QuoteWerks, you'll have access to those in QuoteWerks Web. If you're using the Autotask product, service, and labor databases, those will also be accessible in QuoteWerks Web as well. And then maybe one of the best features about this is that you'll be able to continue to utilize your existing layouts, your literature, your spec sheets, your cover pages. So you're not having to recreate those for QuoteWerks Web. We'll actually just read those from the QuoteWerks desktop installation, and you'll have access to them in QuoteWerks Web. So try to make it as smooth as possible, where it's just a kind of a simple plugin and kind of an add-on to QuoteWerks desktop, where you have the ability to start utilizing QuoteWerks through the web. As always, we have a ton of resources available to you on the website. There's a dedicated web page that you can visit with more information about QuoteWerks Web. There's a demo video up there specifically with the Autotask integration. So if you want to check that out, it'll be very similar to what we do today. And then we also obviously have the help file instructions with information about setting it up, how to use it, that type of thing. So. All right, and as far as just a wrap up for the PowerPoint, as always, feel free to stop by the booth when we're at various events. The next couple months we'll be at ASCII, HTG, and DataCon, DataCon/Autotask. And then social media is a great place to stay kind of up to date with what's happening with QuoteWerks. So make sure you like us on Facebook, you're following us on Twitter, those types of things. We upload all our videos to YouTube, so subscribe to our YouTube channel. So anytime we get a new video uploaded there, you'll get a notification. And then make sure you connect with us on LinkedIn as well. So, okay, so let's go ahead and go to QuoteWerks Web. So right here, to get to QuoteWerks Web, you're going to go to na.quoteworks.com. So all you need to type in your browser URL. That'll bring you directly to the QuoteWerks Web Login. Now, the QuoteWerks Web and Web Login is going to use your tenant account number. So if you have QuoteValet, you actually already have a tenant account number. So you just need to put this information in here. Your username and password are simply going to be your QuoteWerks username and your QuoteWerks password. So that's the information you need to fill out here. If you don't have QuoteValet and you don't have a tenant account number yet, then just let us know and we can set you up with one as well. So I'm just going to fill this information in here so I can get logged in. And we'll go ahead and log in. So we'll do kind of like a quick tour around QuoteWerks Web first before we go through the process of creating a new document, just to give you kind of an idea of where things are organized. We tried to maintain a lot of the QuoteWerks desktop feel to it because we didn't want you to have to learn a completely new system. So a lot of things you'll see today you'll have available in, or a lot of things you see in QuoteWerks desktop you'll have available in QuoteWerks Web. One of the new things that you'll see first, though, is our home screen. You have the option to start with an existing document by clicking on Open, or you can create a brand new document. You do have access to existing documents if you just click on the little drop-down arrow here. You can see you can load from an existing document, or you can choose to start with a quote, order, invoice, or even load from a template. So for our example, I'm just going to go ahead and start with a new quote. And one of the newer features here in QuoteWerks Web is you just need to give your document a name. So you can call it whatever you like, as you can always change it, but just to get it started. So for our example, I'm just going to call this our Autotask webinar quote, and then click Create. And then this will open up a new blank document for us in QuoteWerks. You'll see down here at the bottom right, as I start to make changes or updates to the document, you'll receive confirmation notices that the action was completed successfully. So as you add items, add products and services to them, to your document, you'll see notifications for that as you open documents, things like that. So just kind of let you know that everything that you are trying to do is working properly. So here we have our typical QuoteWerks workbook here. So we're on the workbook page, and you see we have our tabs that we're used to. So our document items tab, our sold to, shipped to tab, our sale info, notes, custom, and then the links tab, and then QuoteValet will be available once we upload this document to QuoteValet. So it's going to be very similar there. We also have 4 menu options. Well, we have our file menu, which has a lot of the same functionality as the file menu QuoteWerks desktop. Also has a list of your last, I believe, 10 documents that you've worked on. Your edit menu will have a lot of the functionality from the edit menu, and then your products to look up products from Autotask or to load from existing bundles. So we do have bundle support. This is only for using bundles. You can actually create and edit bundles in QuoteWerks Web. It's just going to be the ability to use them. And that's going to be kind of the theme of QuoteWerks Web, is that it's not for administering changes to QuoteWerks. You're still going to use QuoteWerks Desktop for that. QuoteWerks Web is specifically for the use of QuoteWerks. So creating, editing, delivering documents to your customers, that's what QuoteWerks Web is going to be used for. If you need to make a system change or anything like that, that needs to be done in QuoteWerks Desktop. And then our contacts, our ability to look up contacts here. We have our save up at the top and our deliver button as well. Since we've already started the quote, as we make changes, the autosave will just run in the background for this document. So as I start to make changes, my document will automatically be saved, every minute or so. On the left-hand side, we have our navigation panel. So the documents option will bring you to the document search window here, where you can search by the different document types that we have, the document name, document number, filter by sales rep, and even search by the company. We'll be looking at adding more fields here to QuoteWerks Web soon, but this is what we have currently. Products. When I click on products, this will show me a list of the product databases that I have in QuoteWerks. So in this case, my Autotask labor products and services databases. I also have some default QuoteWerks databases that I've included here. And then I have access to Utilize as well. So we'll get there to Utilize in just a moment, because that is going to be a little of a different format than what you've seen previously. On the contacts option here, you'll see this is where we can look up our Autotask contacts. And then for any of you that have QuoteValet, you'll actually have a link directly to QuoteValet Insight. QuoteValet Insight is the reporting engine for QuoteValet. So this is where you can see kind of online what your reps have, what documents they've created. If you want to follow up and run reports and things like that, like instant reports on the web page, you can do that. So definitely check that out if you do have QuoteValet. Okay. So let's go ahead and go back to our quote workbook here. And the first thing we want to do is we want to, just like in QuoteWerks Desktop, we want to start on our Sold To Ship To tab, and we want to select a contact. So I can click on Sold To Ship To, and then click on the magnifying glass. You'll see here on the navigation panel, it'll automatically bring you to the contact. So it's a couple different ways to get here, but it works the exact same way. And then I can search by account name, first name, last name, phone, account ID, or account number. So in this case, I'm just going to type in Aspire Technologies or Aspire. That'll log me into Autotask, and then it'll return my contacts from Autotask here. And you can see I have 10 contacts found, and I'm just going to go ahead and select myself today. And then I have the option to pull it into Sold To, Ship To, or Bill To, or All. All will just populate all three fields. And then you'll see I have my confirmation message down here at the bottom right. And then if we go back to our workbook, you'll see my Sold To, Ship To has been filled in. So everything looks good there. So I'm going to go back to my Document Items tab. And then I'm going to right click. And I'm going to choose Insert Section Header. So we're just going to add a section header. So if you're not familiar with section headers, this was added in version 5.3. Where we added the ability to kind of organize our document using the section header. So I'm just going to add a couple here, just so we have a little easier to read for us as we're building our documents. I'm just going to do these 3. And just like in QuoteWerks Desktop, you simply need to right click to access your edit menu, or you can go up to the edit menu at the top. Either one is going to work the exact same way. You'll see my autosave is working in the background, kind of as I'm making changes to the document. So adding items to the document can be very easy. We're going to click on Products and then Lookup. You also have the ability to just click on the Products navigation panel. Again, it'll bring you to the same place. So if I go to Workbook and then Products, it'll bring me here. So if I wanted to pull an item from like the Autotask products list, I could do a search. So if I wanted to do, I'm just going to do a generic search because I know there's some in here. Cisco item, and we'll just pick 2 or 3 items, and you can select multiple items by holding Control on your keyboard, and then choose Add Selected Products to Current Document. And then you can see here it was added to my document. And then if we go back into our workbook, you'll see my 3 items there. So we'll go back to Products. And then if I wanted to pull something from the services, we'll just do Monitor. And we'll select we'll do a monthly and a quarterly monitoring, and we'll add those. And again, you'll see those 2 items have been added to my document. The recurring options will be supported or are supported as well. So you can see here our recurring monthly and recurring quarterly items are supported. And then if we go back to our lookup, Now we can go into Utilize. So Utilize is going to look a little different. I think we have improved the search here. And the way you can search for items is just like in Utilize. You can search by manufacturer part number, vendor part number, product description. Really any way you want to look for this item, you can do that. So for my example, I'm just going to do a very generic search, and we're just going to do trip light switch. Type an enter on my keyboard or click search. This will return back, in this case, over 1,500 items. So what I want to do is kind of narrow this search down, and I can do that by using the filtering options on the left-hand side here. So for instance, if I know that, okay, it's going to be a switch box, that'll reduce it to 132 items. And then when I select that, you'll see it'll show up under filtering. So if you ever added something under filtering and you want to remove it, you can just click the remove icon here, and that'll remove that filter option. And then we can filter down even further, where if we wanted to go down to, we'll go to product family and then net commander, that'll drop it down to 11 items in our search results instead. Okay, so now that we have our 11 items here, this is going to be this is going to allow us to kind of easily navigate around the items that we want to quote. So when you look at the items, you'll see there's actually a couple new icons or buttons that aren't available in QuoteWerks Desktop. So the first one is going to be Workspace. So if I add, we'll just add these first 3 items here. You can see that once I've pressed them, they're highlighted in gray, and the Workspace items appear on this Workspace tab next to my Search tab. So the Workspace is a great place to store items that you may want to quote or use at a later time. Anytime you do a search in Utilize and you add items to the Workspace, any items added in the Workspace will remain there until your session ends, basically until you log out of QuoteWerks Web. So this is a great place if you are working on multiple quotes and you're adding items. Maybe you found an item where you're getting a really great deal on, so you want to save it so you don't have to search for it later. You can add it to the Workspace, and it'll be available there until you log out of QuoteWerks. It's a little different than the favorites, which we'll get to here in just a second. So the Workspace is a great place to add that information, and then we also have the ability to compare items. So I'll just do the top 3 again. And the compare works just like it does in QuoteWerks Desktop, where you can add them to the comparison, and then they appear in a kind of like grid format, so you can see the differences between these items. So for instance, if I wanted to get pricing and availability across all these 3 items, I can get my pricing and availability for all 3 items, or however many items you want to add here. Basically, the amount of items you can add to the comparison window is going to be based on the size of your screen, where it's actually legible. So we recommend probably not more than like 8 or 9. That's kind of the max for most monitors. Unless you have a very large monitor, then you can add even more. But by that point, it's getting a little hard to read. So that's typically what we recommend. But you can see here the pricing from your distributors that you've set up. And then if you want to select it from a specific vendor, you can just click on the select to add it to the document. And then the heart icon is going to be your favorites, and this will actually add this item to your favorites option here. And when you click on the favorites tab, you'll see a list of your favorites. So the favorites are essentially permanently saved items, where the Workspace is more like a temporary holding spot for those items that you're working on, especially if you're doing like a specific project where you want to save a few items. The favorites is going to be more of a permanent, where they're going to be saved in your favorites tab until you go and you remove them here by clicking on the remove icon. This is a user per user option. So basically each user will have access to their own favorites tab, their own compare tab, their own Workspace tab. So you don't have to worry about everyone creating these gigantic lists where they're getting intermingled with other users. It's just going to be their individual list in the favorites. Okay, so let's go back to the search here. And let's go ahead and get our pricing and availability on this first item. So we're going to click on our real-time button here, so our little lightning bolt. And this is automatically going to provide our pricing and availability and also show us the warehouse stock per vendor. So for instance, Tech Data has 1 in stock, and then they have 52 vendor direct. Ingram Micro, 1 in stock. Cinex doesn't have any, and then D&H has 7. So you could choose which vendor you want to source it from. Just like in QuoteWerks Desktop, we will highlight in green your best cost. So if I wanted to add this item to my document, I would simply choose select, and then that'll add it to the document in QuoteWerks. We also have access to your accessories tab, just like you would in QuoteWerks Desktop. So you have your connector cables in this case. So if I wanted to get pricing availability on one of the connector cables, I could get my pricing, and then I could choose which vendor I want to source it from. So in this case, let's see, looks like Cinex has the best price, but I don't have it in stock. So I'll just go ahead and select it from Ingram Micro, and we can add it to our document. And then you have the option to collapse it. So if you want to go back to the accessories view, you can do that. We also have the option to check similar items and upsell items as well. So those are available also here. So at the very far right of the item is the ability to remove this item from the search results. So if you have, if you've done a search and you know this item is not carried in stock by your vendor, or you simply don't want to quote out this item, you can actually remove it from your search results. And this will be a temporary remove. So basically it'll remove it for this session. So as long as you're logged in QuoteWerks Web, the next time you log out of QuoteWerks Web and then you log back in, it will then reappear in the search results, not a permanent removal. But this is a nice way to kind of clean up your results. If you know that there's 3 or 4 items that are very similar, vendor's only supporting 2 of them, you could remove the other 2 so that you just have the other 2 to choose from, or you could add them to your workspace or to your favorites. So a couple different options for using that, but it makes it a really easy way to kind of add your items from Eatalize into QuoteWerks and kind of narrow down your search results once you've kind of figured out what you're looking for. Okay, so let's go back into QuoteWerks, into our Workbook tab. So now if we wanted to start moving items around the document, it's going to be very easy to do so. You can actually drag and drop various items. So for instance, if I wanted to take this item here and just drag it up here, I can move it. If I wanted to drag multiple items, I can do that. Well, I have to keep them highlighted though, instead of clicking out. If you wanted to, in this case, maybe we just want to move our optional items down here. We can do that. And then if we want to, we can delete this line here. Actually, we'll just cut it and we might add it later if we wanted to add a blank line. So it makes it really easy to kind of just maneuver your items around the document and choose exactly what you want to appear and what you want to show up. Line attributes are available. So if you highlight one or multiple items, you can right click and get to edit line attributes. You can also use the attributes item here, and you can choose, for instance, if the item's like optional, if it's in an exclusive group, if you're using Quote Valet, that type of thing. Also like the tax code, the hide price, hide quantity, all that functionality is available as well, including recurring. So if you have any recurring options, you can set their recurring if they're like monthly, quarterly, annual, that type of thing. Okay, so we have those items on our document. There's a couple other features available in QuoteWerks Web. It's going to make things a little easier for editing items. So for instance, if I double click in the description field for this particular item, I can see the entire description and you can make any changes. So this makes it really easy if you want to like copy and paste from another location. We also have the ability to toggle the description using our toggle description panel right here. And you'll see when you click on that, what that'll do will show you the item's description down at the bottom. And the reason this is useful is as I'm clicking through my various items, I can change or edit the descriptions for these items a little faster than if I had to come in here, double click, make the change, then come in here, double click, make the change. Instead, I can just toggle that description panel and then just kind of go through and adjust or edit any of the descriptions that I need to. In addition to the description panel, we also have our toggle item panel. This will show you all the columns that are available in QuoteWerks Web. These are going to match up specifically with your columns in QuoteWerks Desktop. By default, we do order them alphabetically, but you simply need to uncheck this option. And you can see all of the columns that are available and make any adjustments. So if you want to change, like, for instance, unit price to maybe just $250, we can do that. And that'll update the price for that item in real time as you're making that change. If you're also looking for a specific filter or for a specific field, you can actually type in the filter here. So if you want to look for your cost or your unit price field, you can do that as well. So if you use some of those other columns that are available in QuoteWerks Desktop, this is a great way to kind of find the exact column that you're trying to make a change to. Okay. So now that we've gone through that, the other feature I wanted to mention that's available is the parent and child quantity feature. So in QuoteWerks, we have the ability to essentially link items together. This is specifically useful if you have labor items where you have, every time I sell item A, any labor associated with that, we need two hours of labor for item A. So that's what this icon's going to be for, is to set the dependent quantity. And the way it works is just like in QuoteWerks Desktop. Just need to highlight both items. The first item will be the parent item. Click Set Dependent Quantity, and then you set the quantity multiplier. So for instance, if it's like a 1 to 3 ratio, it would be 3. And then you can hit OK, and you can set it. I don't want to set it on this one. But what that will do is that will actually set it here where if I change the quantity of this item, it'll change and update the quantity of my labor item if I had it on there. The dependent quantity feature, the items don't have to be contiguous, so they don't have to be directly next to each other in order for it to work. So you can have it under products and one under services or labor or installation, however you want to set it up. So that'll be the other feature that's available in the on the document items tab here as well. If we go over to the sale info tab, we do have a lot of the functionality available in the sale info tab. You can assign it to a different sales rep if you want, or set the prepared by, change the expiration date, contract dates, all that information, customer PO number as well. The notes tab is also available, so if you want to add or adjust your introductory notes, closing notes, purchasing notes, internal notes, anything like that, you can do that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on our save icon here. And the save is going to bring up our save quote as window. It should look pretty familiar, so it's just a little updated. But you'll see our document number has already been assigned. The status, if you do want to change the status, you can click on the ellipsis button. Same thing with the project number. If you want to assign it to an existing or new project number, you can do that. And then this is going to be the Autotask integration, where we are going to choose what we want to do. So if we want to create and update the sales opportunity, we can do that. If we want to create and update the Autotask quote, we could do that as well. Same thing if you want to do an account to do or an account note, we can add those as well. I'm just going to do one because they're essentially the same thing, just let you do more than one if you need to. So we'll do OK. That'll save it. If any of our anything's changed, it'll save those changes in QuoteWerks Web. And then once it loads our opportunities from Autotask, you'll have the option to create that new Autotask opportunity, or if you click on the drop down, you can link to an existing opportunity. For this example, we'll just go ahead and we'll create a new one. This is going to be the name of the Autotask opportunity, so you just need to put that name in there. And then set the owner, the stage, status, projected close date, probability, rating, and promotion name if you have one. And then we can click on save. And then once this creates the opportunity in Autotask, you'll be prompted to create the Autotask quote. So we can write the line item information into Autotask. This is going to be the quote name, so it's just going to say Autotask Webinar Quote. If you want to put it in a description, you can do that as well as the effective and expiration dates for the document, and then any comments about the document as well. We can add those in there. Same rules apply as before. If the items already exist in Autotask, QuoteWerks is not going to touch them. It's not going to do anything. It's just going to add them to the Autotask quote. If they don't exist, then QuoteWerks will create that item in Autotask for you so that you'll always have kind of that updated list. And then for the account to do or account note, this will pop up and you'll have the option to choose what type of action type it is. So if you want it to be a note, you can put the note on the opportunity. Make sure it's linked to the contact and the opportunity. If you don't want to link it, you have that option as well. And then you can put in any notes or comments about it here. You can also change who it's assigned to as well. We'll go ahead and hit save. So now if we go into Autotask, let's do a search here. And then this is our opportunity that we just created. And so you can see here's our opportunity. And then if we wanted to view the quote, we can view the quote. So our monthly items and quarterly items came over, as well as our one-time items as well. So everything looks good. So we will go back into QuoteWerks, and we're going to click on deliver. So everything so far should look pretty familiar, at least as far as the workflow goes to what you're doing in QuoteWerks Desktop currently. And the deliver window is gotten a little bit of makeover as well, so it's going to be a little different, but it's going to follow that same kind of workflow where you select your cover page if you have one. So we'll choose our cover page. If you have your layout already pre-selected, it'll be set for you. If you want to include, like in our case, a solution summary, we can add that. And then if any of your literature documentation, you can include that as well. Any spec sheets or anything from the links tab, that'll be available as well. Over here on the selections panel, the only difference here is that instead of using the up and down arrows to move things around, you're simply going to drag and drop. So if I wanted my cover page to print first, I'm just going to drag and drop it to the top. And then I'll have everything in the order that I'd like. So I have the option to save the print selections and then the print preview. So very important. A lot of times when users are starting to use QuoteWerks Web and they click on print preview, so they click on it, say nothing happens, your pop-up blocker will probably stop the pop-up because it's going to come up in a new tab for the PDF so you can preview it. So you just need to basically say anything that QuoteWerks Web opens, allow it. So just make sure you do that. But when you click print preview, should, after it processes it, open it up a new tab in your browser. So we'll just let it finish generating our PDF here. So here's our preview. So here's our document. And we can scroll down. There's our cover page. And into our line item information. And then our solution summary. And then our support agreements. Okay, so everything looks good. Let's go ahead and go back into QuoteWerks. And then QuoteValet is supported here, so we can click on Upload to QuoteValet. We can select our QuoteValet template that we want to use. And it's just saying it can't find my picture because it's been removed. And then we can do Preview Web Page, and then we can scroll down. There's our PDF. So just like if we had created in QuoteWerks Desktop, see the document here in QuoteValet. So if we go back into QuoteWerks Web, now one of the really cool things about QuoteWerks Web and QuoteWerks Desktop is they're working off the same database. This means anytime you create a document in QuoteWerks Web and you save it, that document is automatically saved in the database that QuoteWerks Desktop is also accessing. So if you are in the office working in QuoteWerks Desktop and you have to go on site somewhere, or you're going home and you need to maybe work on the quote later, if you log into QuoteWerks Web, you'll be able to access any document that's being created in QuoteWerks Desktop, and vice versa. If you started a document in QuoteWerks Web and then when you come into the office you wanted to work in QuoteWerks Desktop, or you're going to work in QuoteWerks Desktop to make changes, it'll work in that environment as well. So it's basically interchangeable for you. You can work in either one to edit and update documents. Just like in QuoteWerks Desktop, you can't have the same document open in two spots. So you can't have a document open in QuoteWerks Web and also QuoteWerks Desktop. It'll only let you open a read-only copy so you can view it, but you won't be able to make changes to it. So just keep that in mind, that kind of get in the habit of if you are going to open this document in QuoteWerks Desktop, or if you're in QuoteWerks Desktop, you're going to open QuoteWerks Web, just make sure you close out of it first before you do that. Okay, so our document's been uploaded to QuoteValet. If the customer is ready to sign off on it, they can accept it via QuoteValet, and that will prompt you to convert it to a quote in QuoteWerks Web. You can also manually convert the quote if you're not using QuoteWerks, or if you're not using QuoteValet rather. If you want to convert the quote to an order, since that's how we close our quote in QuoteWerks. That'll open our convert to this quote to an order window, and then I can choose OK. And then that'll convert our document to an order. And then it'll open up that opportunity window again for us so we can update that opportunity one final time. Since the customer signed off on it, we want all the information to go into Autotask. So if anything had changed, if we had edited quantities, added or removed items, anything like that, if pricing had changed, all that would be in there. And then you'll see here, we also have the ability to update the Autotask quote as well. So again, if any of those items had changed, if anything had been removed that they weren't purchasing, that would be updated, and so everything stays up to date whether you're using QuoteWerks Desktop or QuoteWerks Web. They're really designed to be used almost concurrently so that you always have most up-to-date kind of like pipeline whether you're using either QuoteWerks Web or QuoteWerks Desktop. And if we click on our QuoteValet tab here, you'll see document was accepted by proxy, was accepted. And you have the normal QuoteValet options available here as well. Okay. Last thing I wanted to demonstrate is just if I wanted to open this document in QuoteWerks desktop, if I go into my QuoteWerks here, so if we switch over to QuoteWerks desktop and I go to my open window here, and we'll just do our quotes. So you can see there's our Autotask webinar quote. And if I double click on it, you can see it'll open that document in QuoteWerks desktop. So I have immediate access to this document in QuoteWerks desktop and QuoteWerks Web because they are using the exact same database. So you don't have to do anything special or anything like that to get access to it. It's just automatically available there. So if you have users who are going to create documents in the field, they'll have immediate access to the documents in QuoteWerks desktop. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here. This is a lot of the functionality that we kind of wanted to demonstrate today. We do have trials available, so if you are interested in testing it out, we can definitely set you up with that. Just contact sales@quoteworks.com. We'd be happy to do that for you. If you posted a question or you want to hear some of the questions, just hang out for the next couple of minutes as I'm going to go through those. But for those of you that got to see everything you wanted to see, thanks for coming today. For those of you that posted questions, just hang out for a second and we'll start kind of going through those.